Here we go, and we are live, my brother.
It shouldn't even have to be an example. They are flat out in violation of law in the Constitution, and they are have zero concern about Americans and American freedoms and Americans' sovereignty.
Yeah.
So, and the reason this happens is because, like I was telling you earlier, we had this conversation before where you start off with a good system like you were talking about in the beginning. The founding fathers put up this system with checks and balances, balance of power, executive, legislative, and judicial. Um, so it's not supposed to be corruptible, but according to Thomas Jefferson, every 50 to 75 years, you're going to have a civil war or a cleaning house in order to keep this from happening, because he, a super smart man, could foresee that bad actors will get in there because the good actors are going to follow the rules and the laws, and the bad actors won't. And a lot of them get caught and they get thrown out or prosecuted in the beginning. But as they sometimes they do get in, and then as they get in, they help other bad actors get in, like-minded people, and then they spread like a virus. And it's happened to where they've spread into our entire government, and they're basically in control of the entire government. And at that point, they're manipulating the media into doing their bidding. Um, so you have a corrupt government, almost complete. And the only way to get rid of it is either, you've got a clean house, whether it be a civil war or just the American people just say that's it, where you guys are out, and they march on Washington, which I'm not supporting because they'll call that an insurrection, but I am supporting peaceful protest, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they arrest people for saying this stuff, which is crazy, right? You're not allowed to have an opinion against the government in the United States anymore. So you have to do that, or you have to have like a civil war or something. Or if someone like Trump gets elected, who's actually not an angel, but he is about the Constitution and American freedom and American sovereignty, you get someone like him back in there. This time around, he knows, what he's facing, the corruption. I don't think he realized how deep it was the first time, and he'll have to clean house. And you have to make an example of these people, so anybody thinking they can do this again are gonna know you're going to prison, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
flat out. And so that's the predicament we're in with a completely corrupt government, and that's how it happened. Over time, these bad actors get in, and they just multiply by helping each other.
Yeah. Well, it's just tough. Like I told you last week, man. I just these guys know how corrupt they are. They know how many laws they've broken, and they know that somebody might get in that's for sure gonna hold them accountable. Trump. So I just can't see
Right.
them. I just can't see them relinquishing power, man. Like it just seems like they'd be foolish to really just kind of to hang themselves by letting go. So hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully they have, that there is some sort of power that won't let them, postpone the election or cheat again. Because I doubt they could cheat again. I think there's going to be too many eyes, and they can't try the same methods.
Well,
So
they might, and I think the way they might do it is the way they've done it the last times, by causing massive distractions, aka government orchestrated riots through social media influencers that they pay to get the rest of the people who follow them out in the streets to protest one thing or another. It's been Black Lives Matters, trans activists, whatever, all these different things. It doesn't really matter what the issue is. The government just wants a hot button topic, and to get the influencers to get other people out there, they'll pay them to do it on the side. And this time around, I believe it'll be the Palestinian Jewish conflict. I think that's going to ramp up, and you're going to see riots in the streets over that. You're already starting to see a little bit
yeah,
of it, but it's
yeah,
going to heat up as we get closer. That's the hot button issue right now. So the government will pay influencers on the Palestinian side to get other people out there who otherwise might not be involved, who actually believe, they get sucked into this and actually believe the BS. But it's all a government orchestrated attempt to distract people from what's going on, so that they can set in place ways to rig the election, like they did last time, where they said they got all the people in the streets, and they go to these Democrat held cities and swing states where it could go either way,
hmm
and they had it in place. If we're losing, um, we'll stop the election in these cities,
yeah,
make up an excuse, a water main breaks, whatever. Then we'll rig the election while no one's looking, and it'll be in a swing state in a Democrat-held city, and that's what happened last time. Six
yeah,
states, all 6 states that were swing states, all six, Trump was leading. It was small margins, but he was going to win them. They stopped the voting in Democrat-held cities, and all of a sudden, the next day, he wins. Biden wins them all and becomes the president, and that's how they do it.
Yeah. I
So
was
that's
think
probably what they're going to do this time.
I was thinking that over the weekend. I don't know if you saw on Friday. I guess there was the protests at some university in New York. All these
Columbia.
in Colombia, yeah. I guess it got out of control and they started arresting people. Did you see that? I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I'm
and,
aware
uh,
of what's going on there.
and so when it came on, I had it on Hannity, and all of a sudden he starts playing it and he starts replaying the same video over and over. These like a group of these protesters just getting arrested and being pushed back and all that. And it reminded me, I remember watching Hannity when George Floyd died. And
Hmm.
I remember even then thinking it was weird. Why the hell would he keep replaying this over and over? And it was like 9/11. Like he was replaying it over and over and over. And all of a sudden, sure enough, the riots started like, not that long after over this. But it seemed to me like it was kind of like a setup. Like, why the hell had he keep playing this over and over? He's a Trump supporter. And he's sort of giving in. He's feeding, you know what I mean, like the frenzy on or starting the frenzy of getting angry over
Well,
that.
hey, you make a good point there. I hadn't considered. I mean, I know the news does manipulate its propaganda, but I never really thought about it that way. I always just looked at it because I know for a fact the evidence is out there. Once again, congressional hearings that the government pays social influencers to get people out in the streets for their cause, which is r- outrageously ridiculous and corrupt. But the news doing it as well, yeah, it does make sense that if they're going to play it over and over and over and over, they're going to get you more and more and more emotional
Yeah,
about it, and
yeah,
then you're going to go out there and we got to do something. It's sort of the same thing. Hannity's being paid, all these TV personalities on all these propaganda news stations are being paid, and it's sort of the same thing as an influencer. They just get people all fired up by bombarding them with this
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't trust Hannity. I watch him because he has some good guests, and he covers all the topics, and he acts like he's pro-Trump. But I mean, I think he's more for the establishment, man. I think he just plays along, and he doesn't get too emotional like he used to back in the day. He used to be angry
Yeah,
about
yeah,
stuff, and now you can
yeah,
tell
yeah.
he sounds neutered. That's the best way to describe it to me. Like he wants to be outrageous about stuff, but he doesn't really. I don't know. Like he has no heart, basically. I don't know what it is, man. But
Right. Well, it probably came to the point of like, you know what? I like money more than I like uh, freedom. Right.
well,
I'm still going to keep my freedom because they're not going to mess with me if I'm towing the line, sort of thing. And I'm going to
yeah,
make more money. Right.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, I'm good. And that's
yeah,
really most of these people are in it for themselves. Like we want to think, hey, we're electing these people, and they're supposed to be our representatives. And they care about us, and they're in it for us. And when you get all these bad actors who have infiltrated, spread like virus, and taken over, almost all of them are in it for themselves. There's very few that aren't, and the ones that aren't get blasted.
yeah,
Look at Trump. Trump doesn't need to do this at all. He
yeah,
doesn't need anything, right? He doesn't need to be president. He's been president. So if that was an ego thing, he's already done it. And he
yeah,
has billions of dollars. He doesn't need to go through all this. So you have clearly a person who's doing it for us.
yeah,
And look at what they do to someone who's doing it for us. If you're not in it for yourself, then you're not part of our deep state and working with us, then you're the enemy.
yeah,
And there's no reason for him to go. He's putting himself through hell when he doesn't have to. He has everything in the world. But so that
yeah,
means he's doing it for the American people. And really, the American people should appreciate that. He's not perfect. He's not an angel. I'm sure he's done bad things. But compared to the rest of the government, he's a saint.
yeah.
These guys are gnarly.
So yeah, so when I was watching that on Hannity on Friday, it just got me thinking, kind of what you're saying as far as the protests that, and I started thinking these protesters they're going all out. They're stopping freeways. They already saw they went to the Golden Gate Bridge and stopped the Golden Gate Bridge. Or they're doing everything to try to get attention. If this is still happening in November, who's to say that they're not going to stop? You know, what I mean, or they're going to be used to stop. You know, what I mean, certain you know, election locations and stuff like that. They're just going to disrupt everything. and Biden is going to use that as some sort of there's some sort of national emergency, maybe a false flag, something. I don't know. I just can't.
I mean,
It's an opportunity, I think, for them. All this stuff happening,
yes,
you know.
everything's on the table for them.
Yeah,
Everything.
yeah,
Because, this is like life and death for these people at the top levels of government who are corrupt and who are trying to strip Americans of their freedom for their own wealth and power. So, like if Ray gets indicted, Garland gets indicted, Mayorkas gets indicted, these guys are not young guys, and these are treasonous federal offenses. So you're
yeah.
going to the rest of your life. You're done. So it's really life and death for them at this point. So they're gonna fight for their lives really on this one to not let him in. And so, everything's on the table. I mean, everything. They'll
Yeah.
go to any lengths at this point to save their asses, and that's really what it's coming down to with Trump. That's
From
why
what
you see what's happening with Trump. It's insane. Like what's going on is
I know.
freaking insane. Oh, he paid a hush money to a porn star. Whether he did that or not, you all did that.
Yeah.
You all
No.
have NDAs, non-disclosure agreements for sexual tryst and affairs and all these sorts of things. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lawyer, Jonathan. I think Jonathan Turley. I don't know if you know that guy. He was on Fox News, and he made a really good point. He just laid it out clear, basically that this recent one, the Stormy Daniels one, that it's the what they're charging them with is just it's so not even a crime. Like he says he doesn't even get how the hell this is even on trial, how it got this far when it's so made up that other agencies passed on it, and that this local DA just turned like a misdemeanor into a felony, like all on his own. Off of that's what they're using, a bunch of novel theories. That's what they keep saying. And yeah, he's just completely perplexed on how the hell it's gotten this far. And even Tim Pool, he was saying that Trump shouldn't even show up. He should just stay in Florida. That what they're trying to charge him with is so bogus that they have to prove that what they're charging him with is actually legitimate, and then maybe attempt extradition from Florida. But I don't think Trump would risk any of that stuff, man. Trying to challenge because he already knows that they're willing to go all the way. So yeah. So basically, everybody, even the most legal scholars, all agree this is all like bullshit what they're charging Trump with and stuff, man. I was thinking something earlier, what you were saying as far as like Trump and that he don't need all this stuff. He's just coming. He just wants to do the right thing. And it got me thinking about the word populist. Why the hell do why is there a term populist? Isn't the person that wins the presidency supposed to be the most popular person, like that everybody likes? Like I don't understand how there's a populist candidate, and there's usually, I mean, I know you probably say there's establishment candidates, but to me it's like common sense that the populist candidate should just be be the front runner all the time. I just don't like that there is that term.
Well, I mean, if you mean populist by popular vote, by the
Well, no, they
majority
always
vote,
they always use. I always hear the term is a populist. Like they're considered like like Trump's considered a populist candidate. Ron Paul was considered a populist candidate. Even though they had, and to me, I think what they really mean, what the real definition of a populist is, people that are coming with common sense ideas, and that's what's resonating with the people. It's common sense approaches, but they just call them populists as if it's just like a fad, almost like they're. I don't know. It sounds to me like it's kind of like they're putting them down in a way by calling them populists. Like, oh, you're just a fad. What I mean, people just like you for non-realistic reasons and stuff like that. So I don't know if you
well,
know.
so populist is basically what they're saying with that is that they're for the people and not for the elite,
Yeah, that's what I'm
right?
saying.
And it's the elite that are running things. It's hilarious to me, right? Like, if you're a Democrat listening to this, think about this. Who are the richest people? Who runs every dang company dang near in this country, right? It's a bunch of rich Democrats,
Yeah,
right? Democrats have actually become the party of the elites.
yeah,
And it's kind of funny because they always want to label the Republicans as for the rich. Really think about it. Name a company that's run by a Republican at the CEO, other than like X
Yeah.
with Elon Musk. I don't even think he's a Republican, but I don't think he's a Democrat either. Maybe independent.
Probably the Koch
But all the,
brothers. They're probably the last
yeah,
ones.
yeah. So the majority of the rich people, in positions and companies in power are Democrats,
Yeah.
right? And then it's funny because they even fell for this. You can't elect Trump. He's a rich white man who's a racist. But then they go, but I'm going to elect Biden. But he's a rich white racist.
Yeah.
And if you look at their comments, you can take Trump's comments and put them side by side with Biden's, and Biden's comments are way more racist. Trump's are more ambiguous. You can spin them however you want, but he doesn't flat out say racist things. You have
Yeah.
to spin
Yeah.
it to make it that way.
Yeah.
Biden says, I don't want my kids going to an inner city school. I don't want them being in an urban jungle. I don't
Yeah.
want my wife and mother walking down the street with minorities. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. If Trump said any of those things, it's over,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But the people who claim that they're not for the rich white racist elected a rich white racist.
Yeah.
Or, well, he didn't even win, but he's the person that they support. And so they've got you guys so fooled that it's I mean, wow. Watch congressional hearings. Wake up. It's. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so frustrating that people are this gullible, this easily led by lies and manipulation. That are. I mean, this guy's in your face saying racist stuff, and then you're calling the other guy a racist
Yeah.
because they told you to, not because you thought of it. You didn't even know that Biden said all this stuff because they keep it hidden. It's out there.
Yeah, man. See, that's where I guess it comes back to our conversation last week. Yeah, to me, it's just the media that covers this stuff up. You know what I mean? You think, what they're accusing Trump of, somebody to come out there. I mean, they do, but it just doesn't become a mainstream topic that they should compare Biden's past remarks to anything Trump has ever said, and they'll see it
Well, when you
clear as day that Biden for sure is.
if you go and ask any Democrat and you just make the statements that Biden made, if you ain't black, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. The urban city school thing, his mother and wife walking down the street with minorities. He didn't want any of that. If you told them just the statement and said, who said that, Trump or Biden, they're going to say Trump because the media has brainwashed people so hard that they think that Trump would be the one that said that, but it's Biden. And if you ask them before you tell them who it is, are those racist statements? They'd say yes. And then after that, you say, who are you voting for? You tell them that Biden said it, they'll still say Biden
Yeah.
because you know why? I'm on the blue team. No matter what they do, I support them. So they've taken the bad actors in charge, have put you on a team, and made you a bad actor, and you don't even realize it. You're
Yeah.
literally voting for your enemy.
Yeah. It's called
So really, it comes down to at the end of the day, the people can take back anything they want. You know, the amount of people that 300 million people against the government. It's an easy win. But as long as you allow them to keep you divided, just stay on your side and support us no matter what we do, then they win. It's divide and conquer. It's so simple that it's ridiculous that it actually works.
I was going to ask earlier, from what you know, what department say they did all this stuff? Say Trump wins and he's in there. He's got his people in front of in charge of the top Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, whatever. What department would have the authority to say, you know what, the whole January 6th committee, Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney, you guys broke the law. Who would basically send the warrant down to arrest these guys or have the authority to place them in arrest? Would that be
Uh,
possible, or they just got to charge
oh,
them?
oh, 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 yeah, it's possible. You would have probably two investigations, congressional investigations, and stuff which is impeachment sort of things, and then you would have law enforcement investigations, which is criminal. And so it really come down to mainly the director of the FBI. So you change the director of the FBI if you get a righteous person in there who's actually going to follow the rule of law and
Yeah,
apply the law fairly, then he's going to indict these people after the investigation, more than likely. Because, I mean, based on what I've seen in Congress, Ray is guilty of sin. Uh, all of them are. And the evidence is overwhelming. If you watch Congress, you'll never see this on the news.
These types of charges, they wouldn't have to go, like, they have to have hearings in Congress before anything's even done, right? Like, they
Well, they
could
probably,
through the law, they could just send out the warrant, send the FBI, you're under
right,
arrest.
yeah.
Obviously, they'd be released that day, but they've been arrested, they've been booked. Now they got to wait there, just like Trump, basically. It could
I
go
mean,
down exactly
Congress will
like that.
probably have, right, yes. But Congress will probably still have hearings just for the record, right? They're probably not going to be in office at that point, so you're not going to really impeach them. But if they are, Congress will have impeachment hearings.
But
But as
they
far as
wouldn't
law
have no
enforcement
authority
goes,
over the charges, right? They wouldn't be able to say, "Oh no, these charges are
right,
bogus." You have to.
right.
They have no authority, right?
Right, and that's the problem is you have all these congressional hearings going on now that have proved massive corruption by the government that's in power right now, and they refer all these things to the FBI and the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice, the FBI, they look at it and go, well, these are our guys. They're on our team. We're not going to prosecute. Wait, now Trump had some hush money with a porn star, maybe? Well, we got to lock him up for life. He sold a building and he said it was worth this much, but we think it's worth this much. Well, we got to lock him up for life. Now, if I want to sell you a house that's worth market value 100,000, but I tell you, hey, I'm selling it for 300,000. That's what it's worth, and you pay it. That's your fault. That's not a crime. So you can see how ridiculous this is. But really, it comes down to, like you said, it would be the FBI and the
Well,
DOJ
of,
that
of
would take care of these guys.
all the charges that he has against him, a bunch of them are from local district attorneys. I think the federal one, the documents case. Is that the only one that's coming from the top, like like a federal charge? Do you know?
Um,
So, so I guess
I
I'm
think
wondering,
I think
like,
that's right.
yeah. So I guess that's what I'm wondering is basically their approach right now is they're not going to charge him with all those charges. Well, I guess because they're not really federal crimes, but with I think the J6 committee is the one that they falsified all kinds of information, and they deleted
Withheld
they
information.
withheld and deleted a bunch of information. They did all kinds of
Right.
stuff. So I guess they're with their crimes would be more federal, no, because they did it at a federal level.
Well, okay, so yeah, it doesn't really matter to me whether it's a federal indictment or a state indictment because it's the top of the federal government that is instructing these DAs in state level to do it. So it's still coming from the federal government, right? Now that's why they do it. It's Bragg and Fannie Willis and all them. They are being instructed by federal government to do these indictments. They're not doing these indictments because they have evidence and it's like these outrageous crimes and all this stuff. No, they're doing it because it's political, and the political establishment that's in charge is directing them to do it and ensuring them that even if you break the law, which they have in these indictments and these investigations, we will not investigate or prosecute you.
Yeah,
Once again, they're very confident and arrogant in doing these outrageous indictments because the federal government, they know, has ensured them that you're going to be fine.
yeah,
Nothing's going to happen to you. We get rid of him and the game is over. This will never happen again. America will never have a chance at freedom again.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I
And
guess
they're
I was.
very confident it's going to happen because they have the entire government. I mean, you got state prosecutors, judges, and everything in on it. It's not just the heads of these law enforcement agencies and these politicians. They've gotten to state, county,
Yeah.
local levels.
Oh
They're in
yeah.
your schools. They're in your schools brainwashing your children. And this is
Yeah.
by orders of the federal government. And when parents go to speak out about it, hey, I don't want you teaching my 5-year-old or 6-year-old about transsexual, right? Which is just, hello, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you think that's okay, you're insane,
Yeah.
right? So the majority of people don't think that. And what does the FBI do? The FBI starts investigating them and intimidating them. The FBI actually sent agents into Catholic churches and tried to infiltrate Catholic churches and get them to inform on them. And according to the FBI director now, Ray, he said, "Well, that didn't start on my watch. And as soon as I saw it, I was appalled and stopped it." No, you stopped it because you got caught.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only reason. These people, are anti-American, anti-freedom. They want to destroy America. They want to divide America and consolidate and maintain power forever.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. I mean, I was thinking that too. That it's not just the guys at the top. Yeah, there's everything, everybody local.
Hmm.
The media for sure is in there. But then what puzzles me is basically you think they'd have a lot of people supporting. You know, if mentally if like, their ideas are basically the same. But when Biden's trying to go, you know, around the country trying to campaign, but you see he has nobody there, nobody supporting him. You know what I mean? But so you would think there was that many people that are behind his ideas, and they'd be there supporting. But he's got nobody supporting. But on the flip side, Trump, everywhere he goes, he has like a stadium of people just following him. So
And it was like
yeah,
that. It was like that before the last election. Biden would go to an event, hardly anybody shows up. Trump will pack a stadium, and there's still people outside. He could do it every day. I've never
yeah,
seen anybody that popular ever in the
yeah,
world history. I mean, it's unbelievable the crowds he can pull every day, and yet he lost to the guy who's probably the least popular as far as like how many people will go to see him speak. He gets the most votes of anybody ever. He
yeah.
got more votes than Obama for the Democrats out there who think that he won this election. You think he's more popular than Obama? He's a better speaker, a better politician, more charismatic. Absurd. The guy can't even get through a speech without just gibberish,
Yeah.
and no one comes to see him. I mean, you have to really, really, really be in serious denial. And really, like I said, it comes down to that's my team. I defend them no matter what. But what people don't realize is there's only one team. Well, there's two teams, but it's the elite and the people.
Yeah.
And the elites are running things, right? And the people are getting brainwashed into thinking that, you know, there's two sides for the people. There's not two sides. It's them against us. The Republicans, the Democrats, the working, the middle class, we should all be together fighting against a tyrannical government who only cares about the rich. And if you don't think so, like I said, look at all the companies, look them up. Who are the heads of these companies who are millionaires, billionaires? They're all Democrats, almost all of them.
It just occurred to me too that I guess it's not even as simple as it's just our government. It really is like a global thing that's happening. It's happening everywhere. In Australia, I don't know if you saw, I think we were talked about one of the past shows how in Brazil they're trying to
Yeah.
censor the speech on social media and stuff like that. Now Australia is doing it. They're trying to crack down on Elon Musk. They want him to start censoring certain people. And all this woke ideology, it's all everywhere. This DEI nonsense is everywhere. The migration is everywhere.
It's all intended to create a one world order. And what they want to do, like, so we import people from different countries into different countries who are different ethnicities, different religions, different cultures, and we just mix them all up, right? And once you got them all mixed up, you no longer have a national identity.
Yeah,
Nobody agrees on anything.
yeah,
Everyone's fighting with each other. They're all divided and they can't agree on anything. At that point, you go, well, we just need a world government.
yeah.
Because
Uh,
why even have borders? Because you don't even have a nation. Really, you guys don't agree on anything. So we need a world leader to sort this out, and we'll come to a common agreement on what we believe and what we want our identity to be. If they eliminate your identity of your country, then you don't have a country. You can say you have borders, but what difference does it make if no one agrees? You don't have any common ground.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
In Australia, the case there with Elon Musk was I don't know who did it. I'm going to assume it's somebody they don't want on TV, like somebody that's uh, their political ally, essentially like a transsexual, a Muslim, Palestinian, something like that. It went and stabbed some people, I think, in a church.
yeah,
And so they're stabbing people they don't like, which are Christians probably. Well, they're not on our side. They're against our one world government move and our tyranny.
mhm,
And so this guy who's, we agree with is stabbing them. So we don't want you, Elon Musk, to play that video. And Elon Musk says, well, okay, I won't show it to anybody in Australia. But Australia say, no, we don't want you to show it to anybody in the world. And Elon Musk says, you don't have that authority,
Yeah.
right? But
Okay.
this is how, so you could see how they were trying to do the whole world instead of just their country.
So
They
they're
don't
tr-
want these sorts of things getting out.
so they're trying to censor one of the trans or whatever the hell it is person that stabbed a priest.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm just spitballing on who did it, and I'm just going
Nah,
off an
well,
educated guess that it's somebody who's politically aligned with this one world government or
no.
the deep state, which is worldwide, which would be, it would be like, who are they going to protect? If it's a white man who's a Christian, they have no problem putting that on the news or
No.
putting that on X. So it's not that. It's going to be something other than that. And it could be a multitude of things that are politically hot buttons that are aligned with them, like Muslim, transsexual, homosexual, just a super hard liberal. Um, it's going to be somebody that they want to protect. They don't want the people around the world to see the atrocities committed by the people that they support for now. They'll
Yeah.
support them for now, but once they do get this one world government, then they don't need them anymore. That's what these people don't realize is you're out too.
Yeah.
You're going
That's
to be
what.
sitting in the dirt with the rest of us.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned it on one of the shows, but I think I was telling you that yeah, Trump needs to make a statement to these people and tell them you guys are being used. You really think that if I'm out of the race and they're completely in charge that they're just gonna keep protecting you forever? They're gonna throw you guys under the bus. They're gonna create a new target from them, and so he needs to tell them, man, they're being used right now, like, all of them, like all the
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because does anybody out there really think that just use the United States government, Biden, Pelosi, Schumer, all these people actually care about Venezuelans or Guatemalans or
yeah, exactly, yeah,
transsexuals? You really think they're on board with that? No, these are political. You guys are being used as political pawns,
yeah.
so so they can grab total power and have tyranny absolute. And once they have that, they're going to show their true colors to you too, and say, we don't need you anymore. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah.
Go sit in the dirt with the rest of them."
Yeah, exactly. And
Well,
they're probably going to clump up all of them with whoever doesn't support them. They're going to just start trying to deport everybody out of the country and just
I
leave
don't
their
think they're
own.
going to deport anybody because they want a world government, so it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, well,
But they
yeah,
might want population control.
yeah, exactly, something like that.
So
Well,
at the end of the day, the people, whether you think you're on the red team or the blue team, at the end of the day, once this power is solidified and it's a world sort of thing, we're all in the same boat.
yeah,
We're just the poor and the middle class, and they'll probably eliminate the middle class, so it'll be them, the rich and powerful in charge, and the poor,
yeah,
and they have complete control over you. And what are you going to do? You're going to go out there and protest the tyrannical government? They are going to either lock you up or kill you. They don't care anymore if you're transsexual or you're an immigrant or you're black or you're homosexual, whatever it may be as you identify. They don't really care about any of that stuff.
yeah,
It's all just tools to manipulate you to do their bidding so they can get power. And once they have it, they don't need you.
yeah.
And so, I'm getting kind of fired up about this one because it's so outrageous what's going
well,
on,
well,
and
this
that
is the main one. Yeah,
people are just being led like sheep. You know,
yeah. No,
it's
I know.
sad.
Well, that's where it comes back to what my point was last week. It's just I think the media could be is the biggest culprit. You know what I mean?
Well, the media is just doing the bidding as well. Like, they're getting the orders from the federal government as well, and there's actually an agency, I can't remember the name, but they take taxpayer dollars, put it in this agency, and then they give money to the media and institutions and companies that toe their political agenda. Like if they're going to put transsexual on or whatever it may be, whatever their dividing issue is to keep us divided, if they push that, then they get paid this money. So the people who are against these things are actually paying for them to happen out of their taxpayer dollars. It's just this backdoor way to um, make these people in charge of these places richer. So they're like, yeah, it's all about me. I'm going to get richer. They're not going to come after me for anything. I'm good, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll push all this stuff because I don't care one way or the other. I'm rich. I'm in my mansion. You guys are all out there fighting in the streets about the dumbest stuff ever. What? Meanwhile, we're the ones pulling your strings and getting richer and more powerful, and it's only a matter of time till we have complete power. Just keep going out there in the streets and fighting over whether you're a girl or a boy. I mean, or whatever it may be that they want you to fight about, because they will get you out there if you don't pay attention.
Yeah. It kind of remind me of this meme I saw yesterday. I was able to upload, see if you're able to see it.
Oh,
Let me see. I'll zoom in. Can you see it pretty clear? Not too good. So the
um,
Democrat Party and the mainstream media says on top. I'm going to zoom in a little bit.
yeah, I don't even see it, but that's all right. Just
You
tell me
can't
what it
see.
says.
All right. So the first one is basically they're trying to make show the point how the Obama administration and the media are so linked up. So the first one is Susan Rice
Hmm.
from the Obama administration. She's married
Right, right.
to Ian Cameron from ABC News. The next one,
There you go.
the next one, Tom Nides, I don't know, from the Clinton administration. He's married to Virginia Mosley of of CNN. Valerie Jarrett, I don't know if you remember her. She's the one that
Yep.
Roseanne Barr criticized. She's
Yeah.
Obama administration. Her daughter, Laura Jarrett, is on CNN. Ben Rhodes and David Rhodes. Ben Rhodes is Obama administration. David Rhodes is CBS News. Obama administration's, I think he was a press secretary, Jay Carney. He's married to Claire Shipman of ABC News. Jim's, I don't know his name, Gloria Riviera. I don't know those two right there. The bottom right corner, that's Andrew Cuomo and Chris Cuomo. That one's obvious. They're brothers.
Right.
Katie Hogan, Matthew Jaffe. Most of these guys I don't really know from from the news, but it's just funny. I never
Right, but they
seen.
are on the news.
Yeah, they work for mainstream media, and they're married to people from either Obama administration or the Clinton administration. so,
Yeah, exactly.
so it's a
I
trip,
mean,
man.
it doesn't get any clearer than that. Now you can say, "Wow, they just happen to be married or whatever," but um, turn on the news. I mean,
Yeah,
tell me they're not propagandizing you. So it's not like this stuff is so simple to put together. It's not difficult to put this together, and to not put it together, the people who aren't connecting these dots are being willfully ignorant. They're intentionally not wanting to see the truth
yeah,
because they just go into denial. I don't know how else to explain it. It's very obvious.
yeah. Well, it's basically it's hiding in plain sight, but it's just people don't pay attention, man, and too few
You
people do
know,
pay attention.
we just gave what was it, 60 million to Ukraine? 60 billion.
Yeah,
We give more military money to Ukraine than we do to our own armed forces,
yeah, right now for sure.
and we protect the shit out of their border, or we're trying to, and we're actually opening our border. Like, and so once again, for the people out there who support, the left or the establishment, I don't even like calling it left or right because it's elites versus the rest. For those who support the establishment, don't you think that with these open borders and what is it, about 10 million people have come across under this administration and
Hmm.
millions that didn't even get screened?
Yeah,
How many of those are terrorists? Like, if you're a terrorist organization and you don't see this as a clear opening to commit terrorist acts in a country that you hate, it's malpractice or incompetence on their part. So, and they're not incompetent. They're very crazy, but it's wide open to them. So if you think you don't have terrorist organizations set up all around this country now, ready to strike, um, you're going to find out. I mean, for them not to do it would be absurd. Like, why wouldn't you do that?
yeah,
So, these open borders could very well cost you or someone to lose their life. I mean, they could set up
It's
shop
happened.
in
Yeah.
L.A., New York, Boston. All yeah, it's happened. But I'm talking about massive terrorist attack in the United States.
Oh
You have
yeah, yeah.
open borders.
Mm-hmm.
You can get thousands and tens of thousands of terrorists here. They can take their time, set up shop, cells in major cities around the country. Then at a synchronized time, they all just strike. They plant bombs, they blow stuff up, go out in the street, start shooting. This is just off the top of my head. They probably come up with even better plans. But even if you did that, you probably kill hundreds of thousands of people in one day, cause massive chaos in the United States. It would just be a disaster. National Guard's called out, the Army's brought in, the government seizes power, martial laws invoked. You know, like, uh, like we got to be the stupidest people that ever lived to be allowing this to happen and going, well, but I care about the immigrants. Yeah, we all do, and they fooled you on that too, saying that, oh, the Republicans don't care about minorities or these people who are suffering around the world. Look, we're a country of 350 million. There's what, 8 or 9 billion people on the planet, right?
Yeah.
We can't fix them. There's too many. Like, we'll do what we can, but we can't do it in a way that sacrifices ourselves and our entire country, because then we're no help to nobody, right? So we do it in a responsible way. The way we're doing it is so irresponsible that it's going to cost us our country,
Yeah.
and it's just, how is that not obvious?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I've been talking about. Just what is the solution to that? And yeah, I just felt like obviously the propaganda is winning. The propaganda is working, and these machines need to be shut down because yeah, people aren't paying attention. They're just letting it happen. Their attention is other places. What's it called?
Well, the people really can't do anything about it now because, like I said, the law enforcement's all been taken over by the government. So, there's
Well,
no
I
one to
mean,
enforce anything.
well,
People
if you
can go
think,
out there and protest and whatever. But if all the people got together, like all the people, and said enough and marched on Washington, millions of people, and just
that's what I
go
was
in, you
about to
guys are,
say.
it's it. That could do it. But until people, I fear that it's going to take one of these, the destruction of our country, or these massive terrorist attacks, something just nobody wants to see
Yeah.
happen before these people will go, you know what? Maybe you're right. It's too late now. This happened. They've seized power, declared martial law, and they're not giving it back.
I was
You
going to
know?
say, yeah, I want to use the example of during the Iraq War. There was protests everywhere over that war. A lot of people protested it, and it got attention. It was on the media. It didn't change policy. Obviously, it didn't do anything. Bush got reelected, but there were peaceful protests. People were actually doing stuff, and it wasn't a time where there was, there was no Antifa back then. There was no Hamas supporters and shit like that. It was all Americans that just weren't happy with, getting this country into a war that nobody agreed with. So it's possible for that to happen, but these days nobody's doing anything like that. So I don't know if they're just worried that it's gonna get Antifa's gonna infiltrate it, or you know what I mean? Like, why how nobody's protesting now over at least Trump, even Trump? Why there's nobody protesting in front of the court in front of him? You know what I mean? Like, there probably are. There's
Well,
probably groups of people, but it should be just more outraged over the fact that it's so obvious. You know what I mean? How crooked they're being. You know what I mean, towards him. So I would just think there'd be more people out in the streets, man. But
okay. So the reason I would say a lot of people aren't on like Trump's side or that side is because January 6th is a great example. That is a FBI setup of Trump supporters who are the most adamant Trump supporters, because they actually went to Washington and actually protested a rigged election, right? And for people who think it's not rigged, once again, Joe Biden, no one comes to the events. Trump packs stadiums. Who's going to win? It's obvious. He had more votes than Obama. Biden had more votes than Obama. Put it in your own corner. He's more popular than Obama and Clinton, which were way better, more charismatic, way better speakers, way more loved. right? It's ridiculous. So it was rigged, and I explained how it was. So these people go to protest it because it's rigged, and they arrest all these people and throw them in prison just
Yeah.
for being there and going inside. That's your house. You paid for it. You have that right, you know. Um, and they made an example. You want to protest our government? You go to prison. You want to protest for our government? You go ahead and burn anything you want,
Yeah.
right? It's super obvious. So that's why I think people are they've been successful in intimidating people to not go out there and be too vocal and make themselves known because they'll come after you.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, I was tripping out how a bunch of Antifa, I don't know how many it was, got arrested. I think it was in Seattle. I'm not sure where. They were arrested, and I guess they went to jail for a while, but they released them, obviously all of them, and they were able to
Hmm.
sue, and they were awarded like millions and millions of dollars. And I was thinking, I really think these are people are all, they're controlled. They're being directed by the government, by you know what I mean, by the left. And I think
Right.
this was just a payoff. They went to jail, and here's your compensation for going to jail for us and making it look more legit. And now they got millions of dollars, even though they burned down cities. Like
Right.
they got rewarded.
Well,
Like how the hell are
look
they
at
not guilty?
here's a good comparison for you on Antifa. First of all, what does Antifa mean? Anti-fascist, right?
Yeah,
So these people, they go out in the streets, and if they disagree with what you're saying, they attack you. So if you look at fascists, Nazis were fascists.
yeah,
What did they do? If you went out in the streets and disagreed with them, they attacked you. They operate exactly the way Nazis do. So they're anti-fascist, but they don't believe in freedom of speech or political difference,
I
which
don't
is
even.
the very definition of fascism, or it's a big part of it. So they're actually fascists running around saying they're anti-fascists because because the government has instructed them to take that name and label the people who believe in free speech and political differences as fascists. Oh, you're fascist because you disagree with the government.
Yeah,
No, the fascists are the people who won't allow people to disagree with the government. So it's ironic the Antifa acts exactly the same as the brown shirts in Nazi Germany. They do this. They have it's the same exact playbook, and yet they'll call the other side Nazis while behaving identical to Nazis.
yeah.
It's like,
I don't even think they believe they're anti-fa. I think they're just like anarchists. Either that or just basically just straight
well,
up.
I'm just saying that because that's what they call themselves.
No, I think maybe originally whatever Antifa was in the beginning, just like Black Lives Matter, I think those are all both like legitimate, ideologies or whatever, political philosophies to themselves. But I think they just got taken over by what the hell called the like NGOs, and basically they just got organized and they got used for, to help the government instead of. So I think they're just all paid, man, like crisis actors. You believe in
Well,
crisis
sure,
actors? You think
but
crisis actors are real?
absolutely. It's funny because like you bring up Bush and the Gulf War and Iraq War and all these things that I voted for Bush. I defended the crap out of him.
Uh,
Like I was on board, man. I voted for uh, both Bushes. I voted for Romney. I voted for McCain. Um, and I defended him. And I would say here today, I was uh, brainwashed
no,
and I was wrong. They're all part of it. So this Republican, Democrat, left, right, liberal, conservative is nonsense. These guys are all working together, and you know, and that's the hard part for people is that when you defend somebody in a position or a person so hard, it's very difficult to admit you're wrong and say, you know what, that's what the evidence shows. I got to admit it. Otherwise,
no,
um, our freedom is in danger.
no.
So I'm here today to tell you I voted for a lot of people who were deep state and I didn't know it. And
Yeah.
I'm not doing it anymore. But as far as
Well,
Antifa
that was
goes, I mean, their name is actually means anti-fascist. That's what Antifa is short for. So that's what they call themselves. Yet they acted exactly as fascists act.
I just think it's curious how similar their behavior is with the Hamas protesters right now. They're just so damn aggressive, so violent, so aggressive, so they're just going out there. They're going anywhere, harassing anybody. Just even them and climate protesters. They're all equally aggressive, like as if they were trained by the same people. Like, be this way, and you'll be okay, and just stay. You know what I mean? Stay aggressive, and you'll be effective towards
Well,
helping
did
us.
you? Yeah. Did you see that CNN producer who went on a blind date and didn't know it was a reporter?
Uh,
And she recorded it, and he said, and she was talking to him about the way they do the news, and he said, what we did on the news, our whole goal from a Zucker, the head of CNN, his orders were you downplay any negative Biden stories, you don't give it any time, or you spin it. And I'm paraphrasing him.
mhm.
And any Trump stories, you blow them up and you push them and push them and push them. And he said the goal of CNN from the president or the CEO Zucker was to get Trump out of office. That was
Wow.
our entire goal why Trump was in office. He admits this on tape. This is a CNN producer. He doesn't know because he thinks he's on a blind date and this girl's liking him. But so
Oh,
he's admitting it. And then he says that our next thing, now that we've got him out of office, is climate change. And we're going to push climate change and we're going to use fear to do it.
yeah, I think I might have seen that.
So all these CNN viewers,
Yeah.
watch that video. The producer admits we are lying and propagandizing you. Whether you believe in the positions they're taking or not, you don't like Trump and you believe in climate change, should not be trumped by the fact that they are admitting that they are lying and their news isn't news, it's propaganda. They are telling you it to your face.
Yeah.
But you'll still turn it on and move along with the herd of sheep. Bah, it's like, oh, freedom's not free. You have to do some work.
Yeah.
You have to defend it. And when you don't do this, you don't defend it, and you support these people who are trying to take it away and are very successful and it's almost gone completely, then you get what you get.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw something yesterday actually on that point that political.com did an article, and they revealed that there's a group of lawyers and media pundits that every week they Zoom call together and they strategize how they're going to take down Trump. That they've been doing it since 2022. They've been doing it for over 2 years, and that these guys are probably the ones that are in the article. They try to downplay that. Oh, they're not releasing talking points, not directing it this way, but it's fucking, Bill Kristol. Remember Bill Kristol? William,
Yeah.
I forgot what magazine he was from. Him, it's
Yeah, I don't remember either.
George Conway, Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband. Not Jonathan Charlie. Who was It was, I don't know if you ever heard of this, the MSNBC guy got caught jacking off on a Zoom call.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Michael Tubin
Right.
or something Tubin.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
So these guys. So and the other one I was telling you about that I texted you about yesterday, John Dean. John Dean. He actually gets together with them too, and they all strategize on what they're gonna do to take down Trump. So
Right.
there is definitely a conspiracy going on. These guys are getting together, and for sure they're sending talking points. They're like the smartest media savvy guys. They know exactly what to do, what to attack, what to say, how to say it. You know what I mean? The spin for sure probably comes from them. But I was just reading that yesterday that yeah, you guys have been getting these types of people have been getting together for over 2 years, and they're for sure consulting the Biden administration on what to do because they know media. Man, there's a video I wanted to play about with Mike what's his name? Freaking Steve Bannon. He's talking about Mike Johnson,
Speaker of the House.
the Speaker of the House. He does a good video, man. But I'm worried that it's gonna echo like last time, man. So I wanted to see if we could just test it real quick. Would you mind?
Okay.
So
Sure.
I'm gonna put up the Twitter feed, and then I'm gonna switch that thing that I told you. So hold on one second.
Okay.
You see it right there? Wait, you
I
hear me?
don't see it. Yeah, I hear you though.
You don't see you can't see it, or is it too small?
No, I don't. I don't see anything,
You don't see anything? Oh crap!
which might be good. Maybe that'll be that.
Well,
Um,
well, I
maybe
got it on
that'll
that.
make it.
Yeah.
Maybe that way it won't echo. I don't really need to see it. I could just go off the description.
Okay. Well, let me see, because I want to be able to play a video, but
If you can play it on your end, that's fine. It'll
okay.
be
Well, I got it switched, so I don't hear an echo. So this is supposed to be the setting where I'm supposed to be hearing what's coming out of the computer. I don't hear no
okay.
damn echo, so hopefully it's okay.
Cool.
Oh crap!
Third
What the
time,
hell?
which is a charm. We finally have no echo.
Well, hopefully it's happening. Damn, I think I just messed this all up here. Let me start this over. And after this, bro, we'll just go into the topic, the conspiracy topic
Watergate.
of the day at Watergate, man. I got some notes.
Okay.
What the hell is happening here? Okay, go here, go here. Where is my profile in this? Okay, here we go. Oh man, Bill Maher did a really good segment on his show about the basically the sexualization of kids in Hollywood and in school. I wish I could play
Yeah,
that,
and
but it's pretty long. It was
when you
eight
get into
minutes.
all
So
that, you're getting into demonic stuff. And for me, I'm a believer in God, absolutely certain.
well,
And when you're doing this to kids, this is Satan's work trying to create Sodom and Gomorrah. Sexualize kids, break up the family. All the things that God's for, Satan's working against. All this stuff, everything we talked about is all about spiritual warfare. Um, and I know some people listening will understand that, and some people won't. But I would recommend doing a little homework, read your Bible, at least check into it if you haven't before. And once you do, it's kind of amazing. But that's
well,
really the end of the day. Relying on a man or a person to solve our problems, you're always going to be disappointed. Without God, it's futile. But we could try. But at the end of the day, human beings, rational, normal human beings, aren't like, hey, let's sexualize children in grade school. That's you're a groomer and a pedophile,
yeah,
right? But now they're like, no, this is normal. No, this is satanic. This isn't even. Um, this is people who have really come under that influence.
yeah. Well, I guess people just thought it was good that he's the one saying it. It's just unfortunate that it had to be him saying it because he articulated it like really well. So people
Well,
thought
other
just that.
people have said it. It's just they are the more conservative. He's generally liberal, but now he's even like, wait a minute, this is like, what are you doing,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
When Bill Maher is saying, hey, the left's gone crazy, like he is the left,
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what people thought
right?
was good. I guess that even he's understanding how sick these people are.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And like I said, it's got to be satanic forces doing that, trying to thwart God.
Let's
Because
see.
God believes in heterosexual couples in marriage, right? So they do everything to get away from that. Sexualize them young, make them very promiscuous, all all confused, and then as they grow up, they're not going to want any of this marriage stuff, um, uh, this Bible stuff, this God stuff. They're not interested in any of that because they've known from early age is this satanic sexualization,
Yeah.
and it's
Exactly.
disgusting. And it's child abuse, it's pedophilia. It's wow. And don't you dare go to a school board meeting and say, "Hey, you can't do that because now the FBI is coming for you."
Yeah. No shit. Uh, here's uh here's Eric Trump. You can hear that?
I don't hear it.
Dang, you don't hear that either.
Mm-mm. I don't know what's going on with mine, but yeah, I'm not getting that. But you can just tell me what he says, I guess.
Well, he's talking. It's like a 36-minute clip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you can't hear right now, then it's gonna be hard for me to kind of repeat everything. Well, basically, his
All right.
one right
Well,
here, he's talking about how all the indictments came from Joe Biden's from the White House.
of course.
Yeah, so he was everybody was talking about it basically. That yeah, it was I forgot who I don't know if there's a whistleblower or somebody just came on. Basically, now they're able to prove now that it's all the White House that they're
Right.
basically it is just election interference. Like they're just trying to
I
stop them.
mean, ironically, and they're indicting Trump on insurrection, election interference, saying he's a threat to democracy. Meanwhile, they're actually trying to keep anybody who opposes them, who has a real threat to winning an election, from being able to be elected. I mean, it's like the Antifa being anti-fascist while they're being fascist. The government is being anti-democratic, anti-election, anti-all this stuff, and they're going after the people who are for that stuff. And
Yeah,
a lot of the American people are like, yeah, get him. I don't
yeah,
like the way he speaks. Okay, what if someone doesn't like the way you speak? Can we throw you in prison? We're all in prison then. It's ridiculous, you
yeah.
know?
So I think I didn't see this whole clip. It's 12 minutes long with Julie Kelly. You know who that is?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't know if she's the one that broke the story. Basically, that it's all coming from the White House, man. But yeah, I guess there's just a
No
lot of stuff.
surprise.
Yeah, that's what
Well,
I
we could
saw.
just go into the Watergate if you want, or
Yeah.
and
We'll
then
go.
we'll figure out the technical difficulties on this. At least we
Yeah,
don't
we're
have it
still going.
for
So
the
so right.
next one, and we don't have an echo right now, so that's good.
Yeah, from what I could tell, there's no echo. So okay, so then let's just get
I
it.
don't hear one.
Let's get into it. We're already at an hour in, bro. So I'll try to sum this up basically. So here,
Okay.
I want to show you this. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, but you can't see anything now. So
Uh-uh.
you can't see this. So basically, this is my notebook. I have it.
Yeah.
I put a little. I could put a camera on, and you can see basically my notes like on the camera. I don't know when I wrote this, man, but it was when I was super into it. It had been probably like 2010.
I
And
mean, I
yeah,
talked to
basically,
you years ago about this, and I was like, what? I can't
yeah,
remember what you told me, but I remember thinking, what? And
yeah.
then I
So
went and looked at it, and I was like, wait a minute, he's got some valid points here.
yeah,
So I'm curious to hear what it is again because I don't remember what your position or your theory. I know your position, but your
well,
theory.
it was kind of when I was doing my little, I guess, awakening. I was just going down all of history, man. I got really into World War II and basically all the administrations after that. And when I got to Nixon, my whole life, probably you know as well, Nixon has a bad rap. Anytime anybody brings
Sure.
up Nixon, it's almost like Hitler. You know what I mean? You talk about Nixon, it's just like everything's negative, everything's bad. He was
Right.
crooked. He broke into Watergate, and he tried to, whatever he tried to do. And so when I was doing all my research and stuff like that, obviously I came upon the CIA and realized that they were super evil. They were actually the ones that, they're destroying the world, man. They're just had the whole world in flames and doing all kinds of stuff. And so when I found out that Nixon didn't trust them, I started wondering, well, you know what? Maybe that makes sense. Why would he bug the Oval Office? Why would he put microphones everywhere? Obviously, he didn't even trust his
Right.
own administration.
Right.
So I started looking at things that Nixon did, and I was like, hold on, Nixon ended the Vietnam War. He ended the arms race with Russia with détente. He ended tensions with China. At the time, China was like preparing for war. They would have pictures of Nixon, and they would have people training in their armies stabbing pictures of Nixon. So there was like some sort of tension going on with China at the time, and he did all that stuff. I'm like, so he was doing good things. So why the hell would he not trust his administration? So I just started trying to piece things together, and I started watching documentaries, like left and right, man. And basically, I came up with this theory, and all the pieces fit. Basically, everything kind of comes together. So, so my notes right here that I have, I just wrote basically. I wrote like mini paragraphs. I numbered them, so I try to put them all in order of basically like a timeline in
Hmm.
order of how things played out. And so my conclusion was that John Dean was the one that basically sold out Damn, and I wish I would have got down to what position he was. I have to look it up right now. He sold out Nixon. He
Hmm.
was literally the one that approved the Watergate break-in. In the documentaries I've seen a couple, and these are like old. These are from like probably late '90s, and I found them online, and they were in pieces, and I can't even find them like now. I don't know where the hell they're at, but they're pretty. They seem pretty truthful. I think they're like PBS documentaries and stuff like that. So
He
and
was
they,
White House counsel to Nixon.
White House counsel. Okay,
Yeah,
so he was in charge of the plumbers. So basically, they needed a
I
go
know
between.
them.
Yeah, so the plumbers were okay. How I could tell the story through my notes is going to be kind of difficult, but I could do kind of a timeline. Let me see. Okay, so I'll start at the beginning. So basically, um, Nixon started having when he first became president. Right away, he started having leaks, like of basically all of his policies started getting leaked to the media, and
Right.
so I don't know if you heard about that. And so
Yeah,
that's
he
kind
thought it
of
was Kissinger, but it wasn't.
yeah. So that's when he started bugging the whole Oval Office. He started recording phone
Yeah.
calls and everything. He wanted to know where the leaks would come from, and he couldn't find them. So he put together this group of people from his staff called the plumbers.
Yeah.
But and then so for some reason E. Howard Hunt. E. Howard Hunt was the guy he trained all the Cubans to invade Cuba in the failed Bay of Pigs.
Hmm.
He was one of the guys that trained them. It's speculated that he was one of the guys that was on the grassy knoll when JFK was killed. I don't know if you ever saw those two tramps that they arrested. You
Yeah,
ever see
yeah,
those?
yeah, yeah.
So people
Hmm.
think that he's one of them. Him and the other guy's some guy named Frank Sturgis. He's a Cuban, and they look. I've seen pictures where they compare the tramps to these guys, and they think they might have put some sort of cream or something that basically alters their face so they could look different. It would make sense if
Uh-huh.
there's a CIA. They got shit like that. Maybe that's kind of puffs up your face, makes you look different. So E. Howard Hunt basically, and then he was also the guy that he directed the arrest and basically murder of Che Guevara. He was so E. Howard Hunt ended up being stationed in Mexico for a long ass time. And when they started trying to track Che Guevara when they found out he went to South America, they started trying to get him, and he was the one that directed the whole thing. So he's a super freaking spy, bro. He's like you already know he's the top one of the top spies that ever worked for the CIA. So this guy, I guess and I've read his book, I read his his book that he wrote about himself, and he basically says that he quit the CIA because the CIA got basically overrun by Democrats. They all became Democrats, and he didn't want to work for them. But right away, he ends up going to work for Richard Nixon, and he was introduced to Richard Nixon through some guy named Chuck Colson. I don't know if that's the name I told you.
Yeah.
Chuck Colson, he ends up being one of the founders of Blackwater. Like years later, he works with Eric Prince. So he stayed active and basically and things are happening. And so basically, with their being part of the plumbers, they were supposed to obviously figure out where the leaks are coming from, investigate however they're supposed to investigate. But these guys just started doing some just stupid ideas, and so they did two break-ins. From what I understand, they
Yeah,
only
the psychiatrist office.
yeah. So Daniel Ellsberg, the guy that released the Pentagon Papers.
Right.
So this guy, he had a psychiatrist, and they broke into that. But so I've always thought it was curious if you have E. Howard Hunt there, and he's going to be the guy directing these break-ins and stuff like that. You know what I mean? He's CIA. That's what they're trained to do is espionage and counterintelligence, break into places and not be known. You know what I mean? Not let it be known that anybody did it. When they did the first break-in, they tore up the whole office. They just completely ransacked the whole shit, making it obvious that somebody was out in there. So I never understood that. So I guess when this happened, it was
I
reported in the
think
news.
what I heard about that real quick, what I heard about that, actually listened to this last night, was they said something along the lines that the reason they trashed the office was because they were afraid they were going to get caught, so they wanted to make it look like a some sort of drug addict just broke in the office and was looking for drugs and shit, because it's a psychiatrist office. So they tried to make it look like it was just a common criminal.
Well, I
That's what
mean,
I heard. I don't know if that's true, but that's one of the documentaries said that.
I mean that could be, but I mean, I think it would be too obvious anyway that it's the psychiatrist of the guy that he's in the news right now. The guy that Daniel Ellsberg, he's all over the news because he released these classified papers about Vietnam, and just coincidentally, his psychiatrist office gets so it's. I mean, yeah, I
Right,
guess
right,
that would be the cover up that it was just a random drug addict that
right.
broke in and did all this shit, but
Looking for some psychotic meds or something.
yeah, but to me, I think it's the beginning of a setup. It's the beginning of a setup towards Nixon.
Okay.
So basically, from there, that story, nothing really happens of it with it. And at the time, from the documentary I saw, they were saying that it was what was going on in the news was exactly what was happening during Trump. Everything was negative about Nixon. The media was just pumping out nothing but negative stories. It was always the protests for Vietnam. It was just constant negativity. It was just over and
Hmm.
over and over. And so under all that, that to me right there is part of a. See, I got it in my damn notes. I don't even know how to fit it in. So basically, Nixon's government was toppled, and that's what the CIA does. They topple governments, and their
Sure.
bag of tricks when they topple government is I saw this in a CIA documentary. It's propaganda, it's protests, and then the last one is either assassination or public removal by force. That's what they do
Right.
all over the world to any of the countries. That's their playbook. It's propaganda, protest, then removal. And that's what to me was happening to Nixon. The constant negative press, the constant protests, and even the documentaries. They said that they thought it was really curious how organized all these protests were, and the constant propaganda. And so now they needed just a setup. They probably knew they couldn't just kill him outright. Probably because there's just already too many damn assassinations. It would probably have been way too
Well,
obvious.
you know what? Real quick, it dawned on me when I was listening to Nixon stuff last night. They killed JFK, assassinate him. They can't protect his brother, who just literally got the nomination for the Democrat president, nomination. He's probably going to be president. They kill him. They kill Martin Luther King. So they were assassinating people then, but it got to a point. I think they said, you know what? We don't even need to assassinate people. We can just do exactly what you're saying,
Yeah,
and that's what they did with Nixon, and they've done that with. That's what they're doing with Trump right
yeah,
now. So
yeah.
you're right. That is their playbook, but the assassination that's really the high mark, and it's very risky. So I think they discovered, look, we have infiltrated all these agencies. We don't actually need to kill them. We just assassinate their character
Yeah.
and remove them. And
Well,
so
yeah.
you're right.
Well, with Nixon, they did it because if you compare basically what he was trying to do as president, you know, we had talked about it before on his gravestone. Is the word he wanted on his gravestone, or they gave him, is peacemaker. So
Yep.
he wanted peace throughout the world. And his domestic
Yep.
policies were also good. So
Yep. No, he did really good things like the China Russia thing. Just for clarification, what he did there was China and Russia share a common border, and they had a lot of conflict, a lot of violent conflict there. So they weren't really getting along with each other, even though they're both communists. So Nixon, his strategy was, I'm going to start talking to China, and he did, and then he got invited to China, the first president ever, which
yeah.
made Russia come to the table. And then
Oh
Russia's like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
hey, we
There you
want to
go.
talk to you too. So he's the first president that goes to Moscow too. He's the first president in China. He's the first president in Moscow, and
Yeah.
that's where détente came from. So, I mean, he did great things even on the domestic as well. He was a really good president. He won 49 out of 50 states,
Oh,
521 electoral votes.
that's
I
what I was
mean,
going to get to.
he had
Yeah.
no reason to spy on anybody. He didn't know, I don't think, about the spying, but he got caught up, and he actually tried to help the people who did it, and that's the only evidence to have against him.
Well, that's what I was going to get to with all that negative press, constant negative stories, everything like like just all the leaks, everything, all the pressure on him. He still won 49 of 50 states. He was still the to this day the most popular. He won the most states out of any president who's ever won any more than that.
Right. I mean, I think Reagan did.
Really?
Reagan might have won all 50. He won it. I think Reagan actually beat him. But he was the most popular that date. I think Reagan won all 50. Maybe Carter won his home state. But
Reagan
anyway,
won all 50 his first term or the second term? First election.
I think the first, because Carter was president. He was so unpopular. I think it was the
Really?
first term, not the second. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know for sure. I'll have to look at that. Who had the most? But still, 49 states, 521 electoral votes. He had a landslide popular vote. It was the biggest margin of victory in American history to that date, and I think Reagan beat it, but I'm not positive.
But
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 anyway, it's just an incredible thing, and so he had no reason to fear the Democrats.
yeah. Well, it just kind of goes back to what we were saying about what the perception of Nixon is today. Like basically everybody thinks, oh, he was just a bad president. That's why he resigned. He did all this crooked stuff. Oh, he won 49 of 50. He was loved. Like the country loved him. They
Right,
loved his not only his foreign policy, which probably
right.
at the time probably a lot of people didn't understand, but his domestic policy, yeah, they liked what he was doing.
I mean, he started the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, for all the Democrats and liberals who love that issue, and Republicans do too. Everyone wants a clean environment, but he started that.
Yeah.
He did a lot of domestic things as well, but instead of like Kennedy's, that they actually assassinated them physically, they assassinated his character. He was very popular, the most popular president ever, as far as votes go.
People get on him for starting the DEA. He started that, right? The Drug Enforcement Agency. So
Oh, he did, yeah,
yeah. So the war on drugs. So basically, everybody blames him. That they ended up all bad because and Nixon started. So he's always the fall guy for everything.
yeah,
But what
yeah.
people don't know is at the same exact time he did that, they were actually trying to figure out how to get criminals, anybody in jail, off drugs. They were literally
Right,
they're working on a policy to get people off of drugs. So they started the DEA, but at the same time, they're trying to get people not addicted. So he was trying to do the right thing. He was trying to stop, I mean, obviously the trafficking of drugs, but he was trying to eliminate their whole market by doing that. But he didn't get a chance to. Right when he was doing that was when Watergate started happening, and he never got accomplished that. And the other thing, I don't know if you knew about his foreign policy. The last one he was going to work on was the Middle East. Did you know that he was going to do something out there? Like,
no, I
yeah,
wasn't aware of that. 'Cause
I
I
think
don't
I don't
think
know
he
if
had.
it's Egypt. There's a video. I was trying to look for it too for the past couple of days, but I couldn't find it. There's a video of him. I forgot what country in the Middle East he went to. He's driving in an open limousine, bro. You would have thought it
Oh,
was.
they attacked him.
Oh, what do you mean, Richard Nixon?
Is that? Oh, you're gonna talk? Oh, okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah,
No, that
well,
was in South America. Never mind.
oh,
That
somebody.
was when he was vice president.
Oh, okay. No. In the Middle East, bro, you would have thought it was Obama or Trump, man. Like they just loved them in the Middle East. They were just cheering, and they just they loved him. It's like a weird thing to see it, man. Like that, you know what I mean? I put in my notes, man. No,
Policy
nobody.
wise, his intentions were always honorable. I can't think of any policy he went for that wasn't honorable and well intended, and he was mostly successful on them as well. A very, very accomplished president, very loved president.
Yeah,
So for
but
his name
no.
to be tarnished like it is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad thing, man. And yeah, and that's basically that just made me really suspicious on what the hell brought us downfall, and everything just seemed like it was just a setup. So basically, so he has the plumbers now, and E. Howard Hunt is part of this, and so the next, so basically what ended up happening as far as Watergate, I'll just try to sum it
Okay.
from what I saw in the documentary. It says that E. Howard Hunt convinced John Dean that you ever seen, you know who John Dean is, right? You ever see when he's testifying,
Yeah,
he betrays Nixon, he just testifies and says that
I
Nixon knew and he tried to cover it up and all bullshit.
I didn't see that.
You never seen that video? You might have. If you see, you'll probably know that you've seen it before. It's basically him talking, and behind him is his wife, like this blonde chick, and she's his wife, but it just doesn't look right. She's like completely out of his league, and so
Right,
it's just funny video because it's showing him, but they put her perfectly in frame, and she's just sitting there, and so anyway, so E. Howard Hunt convinces John Dean that his wife used to be a call girl, and that the and the DNC at the Watergate, they have a picture of her, basically a compromising, I don't know, picture of her in one of the drawers, and so he convinces John Dean that they should break in for that reason, and John Dean approves it. And these are facts, so these aren't any things I'm making up. This is what I heard in the documentary, and so John Dean is the one that approves it. And so once again, these guys they manage to break in, but they have E. Howard Hunt, Frank Sturgis is in there. He it's like 3 other guys, and they're all basically CIA. They break
Was
in.
it Liddy?
Was it? Yeah. What's his name? John? Is it John? Liddy?
Gordon Liddy, or
Yeah, that guy's a nut, man. That guy's
Yeah.
crazy. So basically, they do it once again so sloppy that they get caught. Like, how the hell are you using the CIA and you're breaking into the DNC and you don't even know, know enough to not get caught? Like, they got flashlights everywhere. I think, even the guards everybody that who caught them, like they're saying, it was just obvious there was somebody in there. And then when they get caught, they get searched. One of them has a notebook with the phone number of the White House, and put right above the phone number WH. So how the hell? You know what I mean? Like, you're CIA, and yet you have all this incriminating evidence that leads direct back to the White House. And from right there, it just all blew up. Now they've got one of E. Gordon Liddy. They got these guys that are directly connected to Nixon, and it begins. So basically, what E. Howard Hunt ends up doing is they get arrested, but he turns on Nixon. He starts basically blackmailing him. He wants out of. They basically have to get him out of jail. He wants money to compensate everybody, and so now that's where the cover up part begins. John Dean, he's the one. He's the go between. He's the one that does the meetings with E. Howard Hunt. And E. Howard Hunt is the one that's threatens him. But he starts convincing John Dean that they're going to make you the fall guy. So watch out for steps that Nixon takes. They're going to try to get you to take the fall for all of this. Excuse me. And so I guess John Dean was watching out for that. And I guess John Dean at the time, he was one of the small circle of people that Nixon actually trusted. He actually really believed in him. But he didn't trust him enough to tell him about the wiretaps and all the microphones. So when E. Howard Hunt is the one that reveals to John Dean that he's doing that, and so John Dean kind of feels betrayed, or at least left out or some shit, and so he ends up making phone calls with Nixon to incriminate him. So there's a famous call where he tells Nixon how much those guys want. About $1 million or something like that, and Nixon falls for the trap, man, and he records himself telling John Dean, $1 million? Oh yeah, I could get you that. I don't know if you heard that tape.
I didn't. I was trying to look for the tape, but I didn't have time.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff, but yeah. So basically, John Dean knew he was being recorded, and he set him up with that. And so after that, like, obviously they're just all playing their, they're all trying to play each other now. But sure enough, Nixon ends up inviting John Dean to Camp David, and he wants him to write down everything he knew about the plumbers, all the activities, everything that they were doing. And knowing that John Dean was the one that approved Watergate, and in the documentary they say that Nixon genuinely didn't know. He did approve the plumbers to go out and do what they had to do to seal the leaks, but he didn't know about the psychiatrist break-in, and he definitely didn't know about the Watergate. So it wasn't him like, oh, go do that. But what he is guilty of, that once the shit hit the fan, he was trying to cover it up. Because what I put in my notes is I try to put myself in what he was thinking mentally at the time. He's over here this foreign policy that was excellent. He succeeded with China, with Russia, with you know, with everybody. So he wants everything just to go away. So he's probably just going along with it, like, yeah, just cover it up, like just get rid of it. You're gonna screw up everything. And so anyway, so he invites John Dean to write down everything, and that to John Dean, he says it himself. I knew when he invited me there, he wanted me to be the fall guy. So if I was going to explain everything, so what Dean does instead, he blames everything on Nixon. He claims that Nixon knew everything that was going on. He wanted to cover it up afterwards, and he wrote this whole thing. And then he, at the time, Congress had already started a inquiry or whatever the hell it's called. Basically, they're going to investigate the water break-in and see how far it goes. And when he ends up agreeing to cooperate with them, and it's at this thing basically, yeah, he blames it all on Nixon, and at that point, you know, E. Howard Hunt and whatever the CIA, if this was a legitimate government toppling, it went perfectly, because now they had Nixon by the balls basically. Let me see. Yeah, an impeachment committee was formed, and in that, and also, so basically, now it all comes back to what the other guy was telling you about, Ben Bradley. So all the leaks, all the top secret information, the national security information that was leaking from Nixon, all of it was popping up at the Washington Post and the New York Times, but the Washington Post was always first. Washington Post is the newspaper that you've seen All the President's Men, the one with Robert Redford, and is that
Yeah.
what it's called? So
Yeah. There's a
basically
book.
deep wrote that whole stupid story.
That's it.
That
The FBI agent.
people thought it was Mark Felt, the head of the FBI, but Brent Bradley, he's on record saying that it wasn't necessarily just him. He said they were getting information from all kinds of sources, all kinds of different people. But so it just turns out, though, coincidentally, I mean, this is me pushing it together, but Ben Bradley, he worked for the OSS, and so did, you know what I mean? So, and after that, he ended up meeting E. Howard Hunt. So E. Howard Hunt and him were friends for like decades. So to me, I would put it together. I wouldn't be surprised if E. Howard Hunt was the one leaking information, because he'd already infiltrated the White House. He was basically influencing everybody.
And he's the richest man in the world at that point.
Ben Bradley,
No, Hunt. Wasn't
E.
it Hunt?
E. Howard Hunt.
Or was it Hughes?
Oh no, you're talking about Hughes. No, I'm talking about E.
No,
Howard Hunt.
he was kind of in this as well, but
Oh yeah, so to me, I'm just saying that these guys were friends. The head of the Washington Post, where all the leaks were occurring, was really good friends with one of the guys that was committing the crimes that they're reporting on. You know what I mean? Not only that, but I mean the leaks. So, and then it turns out that Nixon thought he was slick, bugging the whole office and recording phone calls. But the CIA knew all along. They'd already infiltrated the White House, and they already knew everything he was doing, but they just knew to be cautious at that time. So basically, that's my story, bro. It's basically John Dean did it. Basically, proved a lot of stuff. Nixon didn't know he is guilty for trying to cover up. Obviously, he's on tape, but he didn't intend it to be like that. He wasn't trying to. He wasn't trying to be reelected. Like, what the hell would he? Well, actually, the Watergate break-in happened before he was elected. But the fact that he won 50 states means I don't know how he.
I
I
mean, the point is like he won 49, but he won 521 electoral votes. The polling was like landslide. You're going to win this, nothing. So he had no motivation to spy on the Democrats. He's going to trounce them. It's not even close. So he didn't really have any motivation to do that. He did start the plumbers, I know that, and that was to find the leaks. You're right, but the plumbers then started branching out on their own, and I agree that they They did the psychiatrist's office without his knowledge. They did Watergate without his knowledge.
Yeah.
Um, and it's probably is essentially a frame up. And Nixon fell into the trap of like covering it up. And I don't know, maybe he was covering it up because he just wanted it to go away and wanted to continue his work. He was doing such great things. Or I also, my inclination is kind of like I think he's a very good guy, and he wanted to help the people that were being implicated in this because
Yeah.
he wanted to help his friends. He
Yeah.
considered them
Exactly.
friends, and he wanted to help his friends. And then all his friends turned on him, most of them. And
Yeah.
then they indicted, they sent like, I think it's like 20 people out of his administration
They
to
went to jail.
prison.
Yeah. Hmm.
Right. And the problem with that is the judge, Sakari, he was, he was the most overturned judge in Washington, D.C. And
Oh
it was
shit. That sounds
overturned by,
familiar.
he was overturned because uh, not giving fair trials, not giving people violating their Sixth Amendment to a fair trial,
Wow.
and so he was about to turn 70, and at 70 he couldn't be the lead judge on any of these trials, so he was in communication with uh, the prosecutors, and they were
Hmm.
coming and doing secret meetings with this judge, which is
Wow.
right there, your trial's rigged.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that. But he wanted to be on the case, so he got the prosecutors to make sure they did it before um, March 1974, because then he would turn 70 in March, and he wouldn't be able to, be the judge on the case. He didn't not. There's a lot of cases, but he wanted to be the judge on one of them that was the bigger one,
Hmm.
and so they reassured him, and this is documented that we'll have it done. We'll have this indictment by January or February, but they actually didn't get it done until like March 1st. But it was a couple of weeks before he turned 70, so he became the judge on the case. But he had met with the prosecution several times, talking about strategies of how to run the case. But
Wow.
it's like ridiculous, right? Like
Yeah.
it's so rigged,
It
and
sounds like what's happening right now.
it's straight out of the
Yeah.
playbook of what they're doing to Trump, and this is how
Yeah.
they do it. They assassinate your character, they indict you, all these things, and the judges, and they get judges and prosecutors. They're in on it. There was one guy whose name I can't remember, but he they had some evidence against him, but it wasn't real strong. And all the prosecutors were talking about, whether they should indict him. And they were like, well, what's the odds of, getting a conviction? And they were all like 50-50. But the lead prosecutor, Jaworski, was like, you know what? I'm willing to do that because I want to indict him. He didn't like him. He was a big Nixon supporter. Yet there was another lawyer who had been a mob lawyer who was involved in this deep. They had all the evidence on him, and the likelihood of his indictment was almost certain. But they didn't indict him because he was a Democrat, and he had did a lot of work for the Kennedys and Johnson. So I don't remember the exact details, but so they didn't indict the guy that they had the most evidence on, but they indicted the guy that they had the least on because of their political alignment, which is exactly what our government's doing today. So when I was doing this research on Watergate, I did some last night.
Yeah.
Mostly what I ran into was I was listening to two of the guys who were on Nixon's counsel, lawyers for him, and they were telling the same story. They both told the same story, but they didn't really focus so much on whether Nixon was involved in Watergate or not. They were talking about the prosecutions of all of the chief of staff and his aides
Hmm.
and how corrupt the judicial system was, and none of them were given a fair trial. It was a sham from the beginning. They basically decided who they wanted to prosecute, then they went and looked for evidence
Wow.
instead of the evidence leading them to who to prosecute. And that's exactly what we do today. It's like, well, we want to get Trump. No, let's go find some evidence. And they just make stuff up and or use real shaky stuff. And the guy that, had the most evidence against him in Nixon, they didn't indict because he was politically aligned with them. But he was dirty. He was dirty as the day is long.
Yeah. Well, John Dean too. I think he avoided jail time just for.
Now I don't know about him, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
I know they got a lot of people, and it was all politically motivated. So when you look at it from that perspective, you can go then, okay, now let's apply that same sort of scenario to Watergate. If their prosecutions are politically motivated, well, then their investigation of Watergate would also be so. It only stands to reason. So, and 17 of the prosecutors that were on the Watergate, and there was no one to check them. There was no review process. They had full power.
Really?
Were from the Kennedy Johnson administration, aka Johnson, and we know Johnson killed LBJ. I showed you that what I had yesterday, which wasn't on our JFK video I recently found, was Secret
Oh yeah,
Service interviews, which one of the Secret Service agents had said, Hill, the guy who ran up on the limo, said as soon as we got to to Love Field in Dallas, 40 minutes before the president's going to get killed, the president starts greeting people, and then LBJ's Secret Service team goes over to the motorcycle police, tells them, you fall back from the limo, you do under no circumstances get up to that rear wheel, and then they pulled the two Secret Service agents off. So,
oh shit,
um,
wow.
so yeah, so then these prosecutors were prosecutors that worked under Johnson, and Johnson murdered the last president.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Johnson didn't run for re-election, or he left, is because he was super scared of Robert Kennedy finding out. Because if Robert Kennedy becomes president, he's going to find out who killed his brother, and it's LBJ. And CIA and FBI know, but I think Johnson got really paranoid, and he's like, "I'm just going to get the hell out of Dodge before they figure this out. And if I'm out and they figure it out, they might leave me alone."
I was thinking about that. I think he was probably fed up with just being told what to do. I think he knew he wasn't in charge anymore. You know what I mean? I think he knew. There's a whole.
Johnson,
Yeah, I think this, and he was
yeah,
just like, screw you guys. I ain't gonna do another 4 years. What you guys tell me to do, and probably all of it just got to him because it's just one presidency after another of just drama. You know what I mean? JFK dying, LBJ not running for re-election. Bobby Kennedy dies, then Nixon gets in, and he gets he resigns. Like it's just one thing after another. But definitely once it got to the impeachment trial, I think they already had him where they wanted him, but they needed the setup, and so the whole setup it just started with the plumbers being infiltrated by. I think to me, I'll put it out there. It's just my opinion. E. Howard
hmm
Hunt. And obviously he was being directed by somebody. At the time, I think who the hell? I think I keep forgetting his name. The head of the CIA at the time. He was like a
was
he
it
was a, he was a career
was
CIA
it
guy.
Holmes or
Yeah. What the hell is it?
I think it's something like that.
Yeah, I can't think of it. I saw
It
some.
almost doesn't matter. It's just it's not even about the man. It's about the position. Like that position, who's ever in it, you can't get there after JFK or even during JFK. You couldn't get in that position if you weren't a deep state tyrannical person,
Yeah.
because they made that clear by blowing JFK's head off.
Yeah.
And this and like I said, at Daily or Love Field, you have the Secret Service saying that Lyndon B. Johnson's Secret Service, changed the formation, and he's like, "This is the damnedest formation I ever seen. It makes no sense. We never done it like this before." 40 minutes later, he's dead. So Johnson obviously directed his Secret Service, but the CIA director and the FBI director had to know, or this would have been figured out. So those three had to be involved in it. And my point is that the CIA director at that time was corrupt, and the future CIA directors since then have been corrupt,
Yeah.
as well as the FBI director, the Hoover, corrupt as they get, and
Yeah.
and so on and so on and etc. So if you're not a corrupt deep state elite, you're for the elite, not the populist, then you're out one way
Yeah.
or the other. We're getting you out of there.
Well, definitely. Well, I mean, what do
So
you? I
all
mean,
this stuff links up, right? You get JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King, Nixon. They
oh
tried to
yeah.
kill Reagan, Trump. Now you can see when you look at the big picture here, you can see throughout the last 60 years how the deep state, even before we were born, they were in place. We didn't know. And but you can see their MO is essentially the same. They just
Yeah.
went from shooting you to shooting your character, assassinating your character.
Well,
Either way is effective, but the assassination of the character is safer.
yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I mean, so that's what always made me interested about, just curious about, how Nixon, what happened to him, why he had to resign and stuff like that, and yeah, all these little facts and details, and kind of puts it together that this was an operation. They forced them out.
Yeah.
And
I
I don't know
think
if
we're going to get cut off. Hang on. I think we're going to get cut off in a minute and a half if it cuts off at 2 hours again. If it does,
uh,
though, the audience knows this podcast might stop in a couple minutes here.
not
Not by us.
my recording has a 142, bro. So maybe the
Oh.
we're talking for longer, but the recording's at
Oh.
142 over here.
Oh. Okay.
So then basically, yeah, it's just there's actually a book about it. It's called Silent Coup. I'm looking at it right now. It's like on the other side of the room, but there's a book about this idea that he was set up. I remember I bought it, I started reading it, and they do a deep dive. I remember, I bought it like maybe 10 years around the time that I started researching all this stuff, man. But I didn't see any news articles, anybody theorizing that it was a setup, that Watergate was just a setup to get rid of Nixon. And then I found this book where it's like a whole book where they talk about how it happened and stuff like that. So I don't know if anybody out there wants to look it up. It's called Silent Coup. I don't know who the hell writes it, but just look it up. But so that's basically my theory, man. That Nixon was set up. I think it was John Dean that basically betrayed the hell out of him. He could have went to jail and just been honest and not ruined Nixon's reputation and all of his plans. So Nixon never got to go to the Middle East and do his peace process there. He ended up having to quit before that. So he didn't finish all of his policies that he wanted to do. Did you know that he actually wrote, he resigned, but that he actually wrote a letter stating that he was going to stay and fight? Did you ever hear
Oh,
of
no,
that?
I didn't know.
Yeah, there's a letter. You can find it if you look it up. You could read it. He says,
It doesn't surprise me because that's his character. That's how he was. Whenever he
yeah,
was accused of stuff, he took it to the American people. They accused him of taking campaign finances and using it for personal stuff. And he went on TV and said, "Look, here's my
yeah,
finances.
yep.
Right?
He,
I'll
he,
show
he
you
audited
everything. It's right here."
himself. He audited
Right. So he
himself
was
in the
right
yeah.
on national TV.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree with you. In agreement that Nixon was set up. He did fall for the cover up and did get involved, so he made a mistake there.
Yeah.
That's illegal. He did screw up there. But as far as what led up to that, yeah, he was being set up. And like I said, it's not just about his story. When you look at JFK, RFK, him and Trump, we could put all four of those in that same boat. This is what they do to American presidents who don't do their bidding,
Yeah.
right? They get rid of you. So, the preponderance of the evidence based on the last half century of history of what they've done to presidents who went against the grain, yeah, it makes sense.
Well, I think people should look it up. I think, it's not right. I've been saying it for years, man. I think up until, Trump, Nixon was probably the best president, I mean, that we've ever had as far as his accomplishments. I don't know too much of his domestic policies, but from winning 49 states, he had to have been doing good. So I don't know what the economy was at the time. I don't know how bad it was. I mean, obviously people were mad. He inherited the Vietnam War, but he ended
But
the Vietnam
he
War.
also ended the
Yeah,
Vietnam War.
yeah.
Yes.
Nobody gives him credit for that. Like shit, he ended the damn war. Like this big thing, for the country, and he was the one that ended that.
Hey, and that very well may be why he got ousted. How
Yeah.
dare
Oh
you?
yeah.
I mean, Kennedy was going to end the Vietnam War too. What happened to him? RFK would have ended it too. I mean, not the
Well,
Vietnam War, but yeah, the Vietnam War.
all these
So all these
policies.
guys, right, in the CIA and the military industrial complex is like, hang on, you want to do what now?
Yeah.
You think you're in charge? No, no, no. That I'm not saying that's the only reason, but that they all have that in common.
Yeah.
And
I think the.
they were all for civil rights, right? Even Nixon.
I think the other policy that he did, they probably didn't like that he squashed was tension with Russia. They still needed that, and sure enough, when Reagan comes in, he actually campaigned making fun of détente. So he sort of got rid of that, and the Cold War continued, but it ended up working out because obviously the Soviet Union collapsed eventually. But so
Yeah,
there,
but I would say Nixon opened it up to where, he kind of opened the door so Reagan could take it further.
yeah,
if Nixon didn't do what he did with détente, the door would still be closed, and Reagan would have had a much tougher time, if even possible. Don't get me wrong, I love Reagan, and he did great things with that. But I think Nixon, it's not like one person ever is the whole accomplishment. There's people before you that did a little work and you build on it. And I think Reagan built on Nixon's era. Now, he might have disagreed exactly how Nixon did it, but Nixon still did open the door. He got the door cracked open.
Yeah.
Which was shut tight.
I guess I just speculate like what could have been the policy that they really just said, he's got to go no matter what, even though he's already been reelected. We're going to get this guy the hell out of here. There's something that Nixon was going to do that they wanted to stop him from doing. He'd already started détente. He'd already went to China. He already stopped the Vietnam War. To me, I thought it was the Middle East. So, but this is like,
okay, maybe.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. So if he started some sort of peace process in the Middle East, I don't know what countries. I'm pretty sure it had to do with Israel. Maybe shit would have been different now if he'd accomplished, if he completed his final term. Who knows how the world would have been? And they stopped him before he was able to do it. So, who knows? But that's
Yeah,
that's
I'm not sure.
interesting
You're
theory.
right, though. The Vietnam War was over, but it still stands to reason that he went to China, he went to Moscow, he stopped the Vietnam War, and these all three things have in common is communism. And once again, the CIA and the military-industrial complex probably looking at like, look, he's being soft on communists. Like, he's actually talking to them. He's actually doing stuff and trying to get along. Same as JFK.
Yeah,
so they thought JFK would speak on communism too, and that was like, man, that was the F word to them, communism.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I ain't a communist, and I ain't a communist fan, but I think that might have had something to do with it, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to break it down,
It's just a little harder to figure out than JFK's.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of pieces of this one, man. But I mean, and it's just all blurred because he fell into the trap, and obviously, that's what I think everybody just settles on. He's on tape admitting to trying to cover it up. You know what I mean? So he did mess up, but they don't put everything in context. That he was a beloved president. Nobody, I don't think I even heard that he won 49 states. You never hear about that he carried 49 states in re-election in the middle of the Vietnam War and all that shit. Like, so, so we covered some good stuff today, bro. Once again. All right, Dan. Well, another good show, man. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you. We'll do it again next week.
Yeah. So this will be up later, man. So have a good day at work.
All right, you
cool.
too, brother.
All right, man. See you.
All right, bye.